Hello, everyone. We are here back with Stefano, the CEO of Renergen. And today's topic would actually be a bit different than what you're used to. Usually, we just look at the company and we see it as Renergen as a whole and the company, and then the CEO represents the company. But today, we're actually going to have a bit of a deeper dive. We did an interview with Stefano on Renergen, the company itself. But today, it's always nice to get to know the management and also learn as an entrepreneur from other entrepreneurs. And in this video and in this interview, we'll just touch base on some of Stefano's biggest lessons learned as an entrepreneur. So this is for those looking to start their own businesses now or in the future and scale that as he has experience in that. So Stefano, we just mentioned some of your past and being a derivative trader and all of that. So if you could just give us all a brief background of where you started and to where you are now.
Sure, and thanks again for being on here and having the opportunity to talk to everyone. So I started off my career. I left university, and my first job was with Deutsche Bank, and I was in a very, very privileged position that literally signed up, and then they put me on a plane and they flew me off to New York, and I traded derivatives on Wall Street, and it was in the peak of the dot-com bubble. So that was just an absolutely amazing experience. Then left Deutsche Bank and, or at least rather, I left New York, went to London, did a stint in London, and then left Deutsche Bank to join Morgan Stanley. And I was based in London and ran this time zone for capital markets for Morgan Stanley for the emerging markets up until about 2009, where I left and started up my own business.
That's awesome, and you are the CEO of Renergen, as we know. Quite a very interesting company, but you can have go watch the interview on the FinMeUp investing channel. So back to Renergen, how did you come to start such an interesting company? Because I mean, helium isn't just the thing let's do a helium company and just go and start it. I mean, there's a lot of complexities in that business. How did you manage to do that if you were a derivative trader before that?
So we, Nick and I, my partner on this venture, we were introduced mutually by a friend, and we were both doing work as consultants for this individual. And in the process of doing our various jobs, I was looking at the financing of various projects. I got introduced to the people that were running this stranded gas asset in the Free State, and at the time there was no helium in it. It was just some natural gas. And so anyway, after several months of negotiation, a few things fell in our favor, and in particular, LNG prices globally went from $14 down to $1.50. The owners of the project at that point in time had just lost 100 million US on a drilling campaign in the United States, and basically they went into receivership. And all of these factors all put together resulted in the position where the company decided that they didn't want to be involved in this stranded gas asset in South Africa. And so we saw the opportunity to buy this thing, and literally 4 holes in the ground, and the idea was to rent some generators from Aggreko and produce some power and sell the power to neighboring mine Sibanye. And very, very close to signing the PPA, like a day or two away from signing the power purchase agreement with Sibanye. And lo and behold, the generator company said to us, look, if we're going to lease the generators to you on a per kilowatt hour basis, we want gas samples taken. And so we ended up driving down to Virginia, and we took gas in these little tinfoil sample bags that looks a little bit like a pop sock from inside your doorsvane that you buy. And we filled it up with this gas and drove it up to Nexa and to Afrox, and we took the samples. And then something curious happened. When we had bought the asset, which we paid the almighty sum of one entire US dollar, which next week might be a few $100,000, but for now, it was just $1 US that we paid for the asset. And when we bought it, the gas only had methane, it had nothing else in it. And then all of a sudden, we got these samples back, and all of the samples were recording helium of between 2 and 4%. Now, we didn't know anything about helium, absolutely nothing. And upon further investigation, we then discovered that the helium was actually worth an inordinate amount of money. And that was when we decided to scrap the whole idea of the PPA with Sibanye, because you can't recover helium if you put it through a power generator. And the rest is history. What had happened? The previous owners had been taking these sample bags and then leaving the sample bags in the back of their pickup. And after a month of leaving it there, the helium had escaped, and so they never knew that they actually had any helium in their gas to begin with. And so we just right place, right time. It was one of those incredibly lucky coincidences.
Oh, that's awesome. It's always, I find it so interesting to see how companies start. It's always these, there's either this lucky breakthrough or it was meant to be, and it's awesome.
I'll let you in on a little secret. The my shareholding in the company, because it's not this coincidence is not lost on me. So my shareholding in the company is through a PTY limited called MATC, and MATC stands for more arse than class, because it's better to be lucky than good.
That's crazy. Um, you've built this business, and it's now quite a big business. And please share with us, just some of the main lessons that you've learned. That so let's say I'm now a person that I haven't started my own business yet, but I've got this idea, and I'm planning on it, I'm working on it, I'm saving up to start this own business. And going forward, what are some of the main lessons that you'd give me then as that person, to actually go out and start and scale this business over the next decade or whatever?
Sure. So there are some rough lessons that need to be learned along the way. Yeah, I didn't take a salary for about 8 months, 8 years, sorry, 8 years. So yeah, all the savings were depleted, lost most of my assets. It's a rough journey. It is a very, very rough journey. The one thing that I would say is time. Time kills everything. the the likelihood of any business model being successful over an infinitely long period of time is 100%. Every business plan will be successful if you give it enough time. The reason that only a fraction of startups ever make it is because they manage to get it done within the allocated time that the founder has resources for keeping it alive for. And so if you're going to give it a proper shot, and you've budgeted to leave work and start up your own business, and you reckon that your business is going to be up in 3 months, well, then run the projection to see, say, 6 months, and then make sure that you've got the financial resources for your worst case scenario and multiply it by a minimum of 2, but more than likely 4 times, because anything will be successful, but it's a case of making it successful in time. That's probably the most important lesson. Um, that's critical. That's absolutely critical. And then aside from that,
That's very, that's like a solid point. Usually it's more about, you have to have the right team or the right idea. But, I've also seen with FinMeUp, I'm still not taking a salary. Everything we get, it's also just reinvested into the business. And, funding helps, from external funders. It's not always easy to get, especially as an early stage startup in South Africa.
Yeah.
But, now you've built this big thing, and to I think this is more inspiration, as also a practical lesson, but it's just, if you can buy time, and that's I'm mind blown by just that. It's a big
Time is the most valuable asset you will ever have when you're starting your own business. It's almost more valuable than the cash flow.
So then on that, how can you buy more time? if let's say your runway is 6 months, that's quite a short runway for a startup. So what if my time is limited? How do I build more time?
Bring in partners with additional available financial resources to give you extra time. That's, yeah, spread the risk. The other thing that you need to appreciate is that, and this is the one thing that us as South Africans are not very good at, and we don't understand the concept of dilution very well. The key to successful startups is that it's better to own a small portion of something really, really large than to own everything of nothing. And the way to buy time is to bring on financial resources. And by bringing on financial resources, yes, you may not be the 100% founder of the business, but you've got that time, which means that your likelihood of success is that much higher. And this is absolutely fundamental to all of it. So yeah, don't be scared. Don't be scared of that early stage dilution, if that early stage dilution is what's going to be critical to unlocking the success of the business. Because even dilution at that early stage is going to be more valuable to you in the long run than trying to keep everything and having it all fall apart and having nothing, and then letting someone else come and pick up the pieces for scraps and do it better than you can because they had more resources.
And let's say now let's say you come to this point where, okay, sure, we need more resources if we want to do what we want to do. How do you choose the right partners? Because I definitely believe you can choose the wrong partners. I've heard many stories from even friends that if you choose the wrong partner, it's, when you choose a partner, it's basically like a marriage. It's a business marriage, and you have to choose the right partner. And I've heard many stories of friends that, they had this great business, wrong partners and partnerships, and it was the end of the business. So how do you choose the right partners?
Good contracts make good partners. That's your starting point. There is no perfect partner. Some are better than others, but you need to go into every single partnership with the assumption that the honeymoon period will end and that it will be rocky. And so you need to make absolutely sure that the paperwork is done up front. Don't delay it. It's too easy to delay. Honeymoon period, yeah, we'll get around to it. We've got more important things going on. No. Contracts in place, define it all. Everyone knows exactly what's happening. Then when the honeymoon is over and things are on the rocks, then it's a lot easier to define the breakup of that partnership or the divorce settlement. But then by the same token, if you've agreed all of the hard stuff up front in that contract, it also gives the partnership a better chance of survival. Because if everyone knows exactly what the terms and conditions are in breakup, everyone's that much more motivated to keep the partnership going. Good contracts make good partners.
Well, that's a great quote. I think you should patent that. Um, but I think it's also with communication. Like you said, in the contract, if there's clear communication, if all the parties know exactly, what the terms are and what the conditions are. And that's also a lesson that I learned the hard way, not necessarily with a bad partnership, but just not clear communication of roles and responsibilities. And I think we're actually going to do a series on the sweet spot for building a team and how many founders and all of that. And it was with a different venture where we didn't set the roles and responsibilities early enough, clear enough. So everyone was a bit unsure of exactly the roles and the responsibilities and the road forward as a team. So I think that communication and also the contract is a great part. If you could give a last word or phrase or paragraph, whatever, for the aspiring entrepreneurs out there that you really want to encourage or just help to build their own businesses and do it successfully, what would you say to them? What's your conclusion? If you could say something.
Yeah, no, I just go for it. Absolutely, just go for it. And I'm just trying to think now who the person was that a successful businesswoman in the US. And I'm hoping that it wasn't the founder of Theranos, because then my quote would be absolutely misplaced. but she was asked a similar thing, and what she said really struck a chord. And that was, every single day she would come home from school, and her dad would ask her, "What did you fail at today?" And they would celebrate not her successes at school, but they would celebrate something new that she tried and she failed at. And that's a mindset. That's the mindset that you need to be in. I can tell you that you put down your business plan on paper and it all looks 100% and hunky-dory, and you go off and you start and you get into the thick of it, and nothing that you put down on paper is going to come up. Absolutely nothing. You will end up becoming successful in all of the things that you never ascribed any potential value to. And it will be successful in the most obscure of aspects of your business plan.
Sure.
But you will have numerous failures along the way, and you will fail, and you will fail, and you will fail. You just need to keep getting up and carrying on.
And I mean, even Elon Musk and all those successful guys, they've failed many times as well and learned many hard lessons. I think there's a phrase, fail fast and fail forward. And I quite like that, you know. And I think sometimes we should embrace failure because we learn from that. Thank you so much for this quick power wisdom session episode. Renergen, amazing company. Stefano, amazing entrepreneur and CEO. It's great to see the company move forward and learn from you as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it. Take it easy.
So, bye.
Ciao.